Hey Shri Shri Vrinda Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Shri Vanchatattva ki jai, Shri Prahlad Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki jai, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani Shri Sudarshan Chakra Maharaj ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Tai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So welcome you all to today's Bhagavatam class. Any memory from previous class? Anything? There was a discussion of Mahaprabhu happening with one very great Vaishnava, Ramananda Rai. They started with Varnashram. Mahaprabhu, he rejected their proposal. Then what was the next topic? Okay. What did Mahaprabhu say about that? Then what did he say? What was the next topic? Renounce? Renounce what? Almost? Huh? With coming from following Varnashram. And Mahaprabhu rejected that. Why? We should start giving out prizes, so for to those who will give proper answers. Yeah? No, that's different topic. Now, if we reject Varnashram straight away, if we renounce it, then it will become too artificial, as Mataji pointed out. Then, what was the next point? Nothing. We stopped here. And Srila Prabhupada also doesn't discuss further than that. He said, if you want to know more about what Ramananda Rai had a discussion with Mahaprabhu, then read the book Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Because here Srila Prabhupada says about these topics discussed by the Lord and Sri Ramananda Rai, there was still more elevated spiritual talks between the two great personalities. And we purposely withhold those topics for the present because one has to come to the spiritual plane before further talks with Ramananda Rai can be heard. So you can study while you're reading. Sorry, Mr. Bug. Okay, still alive. So before we study further into Shrimad Bhagavatam, we can only understand up to these topics. If you want to understand the details of the discussions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai, we have to go further in our understanding of Shrimad Bhagavatam. Because otherwise they are too spiritual for us to understand. That's why Srila Prabhupada purposefully doesn't talk about it at this point, at the introduction of Shrimad Bhagavatam. We have presented further talks of Sri Ramananda Rai with the Lord in another book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. At the conclusion of this meeting, Sri Ramananda Rai was advised by the Lord to retire from service and come to Puri, so that they could live together and relish a transcendental relationship. Sometime later, Sri Ramananda Rai retired from the government service and took a pension from the king. Anybody knows which king he was working under? Maharaj Prataparudra. This is the king of Puri. But his province was so big that it went all the way to the banks of Godavari, to south. and Ramananda Rai was the governor of that place. So he retired from his office and came to Jagannath Puri. And to maintain himself, he took pension. He returned to his residence in Puri, where he was one of the most confidential devotees of the Lord. There were another gentleman at Puri of the name Shiki Mahiti, who was also a confidant like Ramananda Rai. The Lord used to hold confidential talks on spiritual values with 3 or 4 companions at Puri. It's interesting, they say 3 or 4. Chaitanya Charitamrita talks about 3.5. Anybody knows who are these 3.5 people? 2 of them we just read. One of them we read last week. Huh? No? Swarup Damodar Goswami, that was the first one. Then Ramananda Rai. Then we talked about just now, one more. Who was that? Shiki Mahiti. And the fourth one was Shiki Mahiti's sister. She was also a very confidential associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But because her being a woman and Mahaprabhu being a sannyasi, she can't be so close to him. That's why she's considered half. And that's why Sri Prabhupada writes here 3 or 4 companions. Yeah, so because her being a woman, she can't always be there. But she was one of the most confidential devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord used to hold confidential talks, on spiritual values with 3 or 4 companions at Puri, and he passed 18 years in that way in spiritual trance. His talks were recorded by his private secretary, Sri Damodar Goswami, one of the 4 most intimate devotees. The Lord extensively traveled all over the southern part of India. The great saint of Maharashtra, known as Saint Tukaram, who was also initiated by the Lord. Saint Tukaram, after initiation by the Lord, overflooded the whole of Maharashtra province with the Sankirtan movement, and the transcendental flow is still rolling on in the southern western part of the great Indian peninsula. Anybody knows about Tukaram, Sant Tukaram? Tukaram Maharaj? Where are you from, Prabhuji? From Mumbai, okay. You're also from, yes, you're also from Mumbai. So, he was born in Maharashtra, is very well known as Tukaram Maharaj. He was not a sannyasi. The term Maharaj for sannyasi is given in Bengal. In Maharashtra, if you are a pujari, you will be called Maharaj. If any of us wearing dhoti and dhoti kurta, we go to Maharashtra, we will be automatically called Maharaj. That's their term for saying Prabhu. So Tukaram Maharaj, he was a grihastha, and he came from a Shudra background, low class. But his devotion was so high that Mahaprabhu initiated him in his dreams. And he gave him the mantra Rama Krishna Hari, Gopala Krishna Hari. That was the mantra given by Mahaprabhu to Tukaram Maharaj. Now, interestingly, here in this part of India, he gives the mantra Hare Krishna and Rama. And in the western part, he gives Rama Krishna Hari. The same thing. But just pronounce it differently. So people get more enthusiastic, they get more, there's something different, something nice. So and if you notice during Mahaprabhu's time, the whole of India was flooded by the Sankirtan movement. Mahaprabhu was in Bengal, he traveled down south, there were so many Vaishnavas, the Sri Vaishnavas in south, then Tukaram Maharaj in Maharashtra, there was Narsi Mehta in Gujarat, there was Mirabai in Rajasthan, there was Guru Nanak in Punjab. all over. This is the similar time of Mahaprabhu. So Gyaneshwar was before Tukaram Maharaj. So during Mahaprabhu's time, the whole of India was flooded by Sankirtan movement. And Tukaram Maharaj is one of such personalities who went back to Godhead with his body. He didn't have to leave his body to go back home, back to Godhead. There's a very interesting point when he's leaving the body, because people used to tell him, you are such a great devotee that the Vimana, the celestial plane will come to take you. And that actually happened. One day the plane did arrive and sat on the tree. The tree is still there. And Tukaram Maharaj, he sat on this Vimana. The Muhurta, Tukaram Maharaj left this world. Till today, the tree shakes. It shakes. It denotes that yes, Tukaram Maharaj went back to Godhead from this very tree. So he is sitting in the Vimana. People are seeing him. The Vishnudutas are on either sides. And Tukaram Maharaj, because they had said, the Vimana will come to pick you up. That time, please don't forget us. We are not qualified to go back to Godhead, but when they come to pick you up, be merciful upon us and take us with you. Tukaram Maharaj said, yes, sure, why not? So now he's sitting on the Vimana. There are Vishnudutas on both sides. And he says, my dear brother, please come, let's go back home, back to Godhead. The guy looks around, whom he's talking to. Like, I'm talking to you. It's been, 15 good years that the crop has not come as good as it was. It has been for 15 years, it didn't come this nice. I will harvest this crop so my family can have a good time, and then I will come. Okay? Tells another person, hey brother, come. He says, look, my daughter is of the age of marriage now. I have to get her married first. I cannot come right now. He asked everyone, and nobody wanted to go back home, back to Godhead. Seeing the Vimana is there, the person sitting in the Vimana is saying, come, I will take you with me. But the attachment is so strong that they didn't go. And Tukaram Maharaj went alone. Funny part is while he's going, there is already people talking about, did he actually go back to Godhead? Maybe he didn't go back to Godhead. He is thinking, God, these people are real rascals. He throws his kartals down and it fell to denote that yes, he's going on the way back to Godhead and he can hear what we are talking about him now. After that, they all became very serious. Until today, the devotional service, his parampara, his sampradaya is still going on. They are called Varkaris. So that was Tukaram Maharaj, also initiated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Speak a little loudly, Mataji. Okay. There's one very old movie. Yeah, it was a very old Hindi cinema movie called Santa Tukaram. ISKCON bought it. So it's part of this ITV production. You can watch. It's called Santa Tukaram. That video, that movie was so nicely done. We watched it in Gurukul at least 50 times. But every time we watched that movie, we felt, let's go chant some japa. And the interesting thing about that movie, it's a movie with all professional people, professional artists. The person who acted as Tukaram Maharaj at the end of the movie went to Pandharpur, took sannyas, dedicated his life to worshipping Panduranga. So you can imagine how that was his realization, right? His way back home, back to God was through a movie. And it's a black and white movie. It's done, like 1950s or something like that. But the devotion you can see. Now many people they're trying to make a similar movie, but they can't, come at, even close to that place. Anyway, if you get a chance, You can watch that movie. It's called Sant Tukaram. A beautiful black and white movie, old movie. The Lord excavated from South India two very important old literatures, namely the Brahma Samhita and Krishna Karanamrita. Srila Prabhupada gives a footnote to Brahma Samhita, says it's a summary of Shrimad Bhagavatam. And these two valuable books are authorized studies for the person in the devotional line. The Lord then returned to Puri after his South Indian tour. On his return to Puri, all the anxious devotees of the Lord got back their life. And the Lord remained there with continued pastimes of his transcendental realizations. The most important incident during that time was his granting audience to King Prataparudra. He's meeting such high officials, right? Government officials. He's meeting, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami. One is the chief minister, and one of them is the prime minister. Right? He's talking to them. Ramananda Rai is a governor of the Madras province. He's meeting them, but he doesn't want to meet Maharaj Prataparudra. He says, no, he is a materialistic person running behind Maya. And I, being a sannyasi, I will not meet him. King Prataparudra was a great devotee of the Lord, and he considered himself to be one of the servants of the Lord entrusted with sweeping the temple. Sorry, I missed some part. No, that was it. This submissive attitude of the king was very much appreciated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The king requested both Bhattacharya, that's Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Ramananda Rai to arrange his meeting with the Lord. When, however, the Lord was petitioned by two stalwart devotees, he flatly refused to grant the request, even though it was put forward by personal associates like Ramananda Rai and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. The Lord maintained that it is dangerous for a sannyasi to be in intimate touch with worldly, money-conscious men and with women. The Lord was an ideal sannyasi. No woman could approach the Lord even to offer respects. Women's seats were accommodated far away from the Lord. As an ideal teacher and acharya, he was very strict in the routine work of a sannyasi. Apart from being a divine incarnation, the Lord was an ideal character as a human being. His behavior with other persons was also above suspicion. In his dealing as an acharya, he was harder than a thunderbolt and softer than the rose. That's one of the qualities of a teacher. A teacher, when it comes to education, he's hard like thunderbolt. But at the same time, he sees what is the requirement of the student. Can the student handle the thunderbolt? If not, he can be as soft as a rose. And that is a quality of a leader. Every leader must have this quality. If he doesn't have this quality, he cannot lead. If he is always very strict and very, like a thunderbolt, people will only listen to him because he is so strong and powerful. As soon as he turns old and weak, people don't respect him anymore. I was speaking with one devotee today, Bhadracharu Prabhu, if you know him. He was one of Mayapur's big pundits in performance of pujas and yagyas and like that. And a few years ago, he had a severe heart attack, and now he's unable to sit, unable to, for a long time, So he's maintaining, he's living at home. So I was talking with him, how are you doing, Prabhu? And he says, at one point I said, so how is everything else? He said, as long as I'm listening to all the devotees, I'm doing good. Because I myself can't do anything anymore. And if I don't listen to them, why would they take care of me? So now I'm listening to them. He was always very nice and soft person. And because of that attitude, even today people are willing to take care of him. Whereas there were other people who were always very strong and very demanding. They got sick, and people were praying, let him die. Let him not get recovered. Let him not recover from his sickness. Let him die. What is the point of such a life? You have to have both. And you need to be strong. At the same time, you need to be soft. If one can do that, then you can have a very nice result. Same, parents. You have to be like a thunderbolt sometime with your children. And sometimes just like a rose. Very loving and very caring. And very importantly, the rose aspect has to be more, multiple times more than the thunderbolt. You're loving him, caring him many times, and one time you're strict with him. That child will not have a problem that you got strict with him. Because other times you're soft, you're loving, you're caring. So that's a sign of anybody who wants to lead. One of his associates, Junior Haridas, committed a great mistake by lustfully glancing at a young woman. The Lord as Super Soul could detect his lust in the mind of Junior Haridas, who was at once banished from the Lord's association and was never accepted again. Even though the Lord was implored to excuse Haridas for the mistake, Junior Haridas afterwards committed suicide due to being disassociated from the company of the Lord, and the news of suicide was duly related to the Lord. Even at that time, the Lord was not forgetful of the offense, and he said that Haridas had rightly met with a proper punishment. Haridas is not Haridas Thakur. It's a different Haridas. And he was a sannyasi. And he made a mistake of looking at a young girl lustfully. He didn't do anything wrong. Didn't do anything. He just looked at a young girl lustfully, and Mahaprabhu, he said, when he committed suicide, he said, that's his proper punishment. Such a strict sannyasi. On the principles of renowned order of life and discipline, the Lord knew no compromise. And therefore, even though he knew that the king was a great devotee, he refused to see the king, only because the king was a dollar-and-cent man. By this example, the Lord wanted to emphasize the proper behavior for a transcendentalist. A transcendentalist has nothing to do with women and money. He must always refrain from such intimate relations. The king was, however, favored by the Lord by the expert arrangement of the devotees. This means that the beloved devotee of the Lord can favor a neophyte more liberally than the Lord. Pure devotees, therefore, never commit an offense at the feet of another pure devotee. An offense at the lotus feet of the Lord is sometimes excused by the merciful Lord, but an offense at the feet of a devotee is very dangerous for one who actually wants to make progress in devotional service. That's why the first offense to the holy name is against the Vaishnavas. And you commit seva aparad, fine. You just continue doing seva, you get over it. You commit nama aparad, there are remedies. You keep on chanting and you'll be okay. But you commit Vaishnava aparad, it's like a mad elephant offense. It uproots everything. And bhakti is considered as a creeper. It's not considered as a banyan tree. It's considered as a creeper. And what can a mad elephant do to a creeper? It can completely destroy it in a way that it cannot come up again. Right? Uproot it, put it under his foot, rip it into shreds, and it's finished. One offense to the devotees can lead us to unlimited lifetimes of getting stuck over here. Once Shachi Mata said that, oh, she was angry with Advaita Charya because of him, both her sons took up sannyas. She's a mother. What do you expect? She is going to feel hurt. And because of that, Mahaprabhu would not give Krishna Prem to her. And the devotee said, Mahaprabhu, she is your mother. She is an offender at the lotus feet of Advaita Acharya. Unless and until Advaita Acharya is going to forgive her, I'm not giving her Krishna Prema. And she had to go and touch the lotus feet of Sri Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya freaks out. What are you doing, mother? You are the mother of my Lord. She says, no, I'm an offender. Only after that did Mahaprabhu give her his mercy. And so, doesn't matter who you are, offending Vaishnavas destroys everything. There's one story of Sri Rupa Goswami. He was sitting and meditating. And in his meditation, he sees Radha Krishna pastimes. And Radharani is up on the tree. Right? And I can't exactly remember what happened, but she fell. And then Rupa Goswami and Krishna and the Sakhis, and so all these Sakhis and Krishna, they all start laughing. And yeah? Please.
Krishna and Radharani going in the tree.
Uh-huh.
So they go before, they go up on the tree.
Uh-huh.
They take shower, they fix it with bench where it's flower. And when Radharani wants to put the flower,
Pulls.
they pull and arrive. And then they see this and they begin to work.
Okay, so they start laughing. And Rupa Goswami also starts laughing. But in his meditation, seeing this Leela. But at that time, there is a leper, devotee, Brajavasi, going by, and he's having difficulty walking. And he sees Rupa Goswami laughing. He says, he's laughing at me? He's such a big Babaji? He's laughing at me, at my situation? He gets offended. He leaves. And immediately, the darshan Rupa Goswami was having disappears. And Rupa Goswami is disturbed. What happened? Why I can't see the Leelas of Radha and Krishna? He's very disturbed. And then Sanatan Goswami comes. Says, my dear elder brother, this is what happened. I can't see it. Says, you must have offended a Vaishnava. Says, how do I rectify this mistake? Said, call for a big prasadam. It's called Bhandara in Braj. Call for it and invite all the Vaishnavas. The Vaishnava who doesn't come is the one who is offended by you. So that's what Rupa Goswami does, arranges for a big prasad distribution. Everybody comes except for this particular devotee. And then Rupa Goswami goes there. He's like, dear Vaishnava, what did I do? What mistake did I commit? Why, are you offended by me? He says, well, you are laughing at me. He says, when? When was I laughing at you? Yeah, you remember this time. He says, no, I wasn't laughing at you. I saw this darshan. And in this darshan, everybody was laughing. And that's why I was laughing. He said, oh, is that so? He said, yes. He said, oh, I'm so sorry, Rupa Goswami. I made an offense at your lotus feet. And both of them, they hugged. But the benefit of that was both of them were able to take darshan of the same pastime. And so even the devotee who got offended, seemingly, was blessed because of because of the mercy of Rupa Goswami. So that's why one should not commit any kind of offense towards the lotus feet of Vaishnavas. I'm lost. Okay. As long as the Lord remained at Puri, thousands of his devotees used to come to see him during the Rath Yatra, car festival of Lord Jagannath. And during the car festival, the washing of Gundicha temple under the direct supervision of the Lord was an important function. The Lord's congregational Sankirtan movement at Puri was a unique exhibition for the mass of people. That is the way to turn the mass mind towards spiritual realization. The Lord inaugurated this system of mass Sankirtan, and the leaders of all countries can take part of the spiritual movement in order to keep the mass of people in a pure state of peace and friendship with one another. This is now the demand of the present human society all over the world. Everyone requires this. Sankirtan, going out on Harinams, mass gathering, Maha Sankirtan, Nagar Kirtans. And it is appreciated by all. Sometimes you get crazy people around who want to beat up the devotees when they're doing Kirtan. But most of the time, devotees are having great time in doing Kirtan on the streets. There was once in Slovenia. It was in December, and the devotees went out performing kirtan, and it's snow everywhere, right? So they are doing their kirtan, they are distributing out cookies, and it became the front page headline of the newspaper in Slovenia that they said street musicians, says the only street musicians in the country are the Hare Krishnas. Even in this snow, in this cold, they are out distributing free cookies. And then they were like glorifying and saying Hare Krishna and Hare Krishnas. So it was a very big hit. After that, many people joined ISKCON. There was once we were there, and then we were in Finland. And one person just walked in. He says, "Yes, sir, how can we help you?" He says, "I just followed the cookies." He was out on the street. He got a cookie. He really liked it. So he asked, where can I get more of these? So they said, okay, you can get it here. He went further, and then there was somebody else giving out cookies. He says, where can I get more of these? Hey, you got to go to the temple. He says, where is the temple? He comes up there. And immediately there is a new bhakta, trainer. He comes in, oh, come, let me show you around. They take him around. They give him a full lunch, and he's like, wow. How much do I pay for this? Nothing, you don't have to pay anything. What? This is free meal? He says, yeah. And you can take this every day. What? Lunch for free? Yeah, you can even live in with us. Wow. So what do I got to do? Nothing. Just, become one of us. 3 days later, he's out on the street distributing out cookies. It was really interesting. Really amazing. After some time, the Lord again started towards northern India, and he decided to visit Vrindavan and its neighboring places. He passed through the jungles of Jharkhand, Madhya Bharat, and all the wild animals also joined his Sankirtan movement. The wild tigers, elephants, bears, and deers all together accompanied the Lord, and the Lord accompanied them in Sankirtan. By this, he proved that by the propagation of the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting and glorifying of the names of the Lord, even the wild animals can live in peace and friendship. And what to speak of men who are supposed to be civilized? No man in the world will refuse to join the Sankirtan movement, nor is the Lord Sankirtan movement restricted to any caste, creed, color, or species. Here is the direct evidence of this great mission. He allowed even the wild animals to partake in this great movement. It's not a new thing. Hanuman is a monkey. Garuda is a bird. Gajendra is an elephant. Jambavan is a bear. Anybody can serve Krishna. And what to speak of us? But that's the problem, because we got more brain. So we use that more brain to figure it out how not to get involved in the devotional service. There was a meeting. There was like an argument between a devotee and a scientist, and the point came out of the humans are having more intelligence, and that's why the humans, they can come up with all these technologies, and now the life is so easy and everything. And the devotee says, what are you doing with using these technologies? You're just having a better eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. What else are you doing with this technology? You know. And the scientist says, oh, well, that's what we are supposed to do anyway, isn't it? He said, no. Even the animals do that. And you see some of these bird nests, they are so sophisticated. There is one bird, I don't know what's his name, but his nest is completely covered. It comes out and straight. It goes around in a circle, and then it has a path. If you look inside, it has a swing for the baby to swing. It's a bird. And because it's completely covered, no sunlight goes inside. But wherever this bird makes its nest, you get these fireflies, or the glowworms, they're called. So this bird, it goes and finds this glowworm and sticks it inside the nest. So the glowworm, when it blows light inside. What a great architecture over there! Yeah? Such an engineering work done by a bird. Yeah. So he says even the animals and insects and bugs and birds, they do this kind of work. Why does a human have a superior intelligence? Because he needs to find out how he can get out of this repeated cycle of birth and death. And that he can only do through the process of devotional service. That's why human has a superior intelligence. But yeah, on his way back from Vrindavan, he first came to Prayag, where he met Rupa Goswami along with his younger brother Anupama. Then he came down to Banaras. For 2 months, he instructed Sri Sanatana Goswami in the transcendental science. The instructions to Sanatana Goswami is in itself a long narration, and a full presentation of the instruction will not be possible here. The main ideas are given as follows. Sanatana Goswami, formerly known as Sakar Malik, was in the cabinet service of the Bengal government under the reign of Nawab Hussain Shah. He decided to join with the Lord and thus retired from the service. On his way back from Vrindavan, when he reached Varanasi, the Lord became the guest of Sri Tapana Mishra and Chandrasekhar, assisted by the Maharashtra Brahmana. At that time, Varanasi was headed by a great sannyasi of the Mayavada school named Shripad Prakashananda Saraswati. When the Lord was at Varanasi, the people in general became more attracted to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on account of his mass Sankirtan movement. Wherever he visited, especially the Vishwanath temple, thousands of pilgrims would follow him. Some were attracted by his bodily features, and others were attracted by his melodious song glorifying the Lord. The Mayavadi sannyasis designate themselves as Narayana, means they are Lord Narayana himself. Varanasi is still overflooded with many Mayavadi sannyasis. Some people who saw the Lord in his Sankirtan party considered him to be actually Narayana, and this report reached the camp of the great sannyasi Prakashananda. Even now, this great, the Sankirtan movement, when you go out, singing, you see always the great crowd, it comes. Remember a few years ago, we went for this FIFA World Cup in Brazil, right? And then we were doing this whole preaching program wherever there was a football match going on. So we were on one beach, and we were with Paramgati Swami. We had a group of at least 50 devotees, and there was one devotee singing for past 2 hours, same tune, no changes, nothing, saying Hare Krishna, Hare. And everybody was so bored and no energy, nothing. 2 hours straight. And then we came across this African group. They are having their drums and they're beating on their drums, like all these varieties of things they do. And you see there's like 200 people gathered around them. And I was like, they have nothing to show. There are still people there. We have the greatest message, And we requested this Prabhuji, Maharaj wants to sing. And he said, who said, no, Paramgati Maharaj wants to sing. And we went to Paramgati Maharaj, like, Maharaj, can you sing? And then Maharaj started to sing. Immediately the mood changed. All the Mridanga players were inspired to play, the devotees were inspired to play. It so happened that, when we were there doing the kirtan, there was more people around us than they were with this African tribe. And everybody was so, attracted. I remember when we would go out go out some pilgrimage with my parents. My father would go out at every station when the train would stop for a period of 10 minutes, 15 minutes. He would go out with his group of friends and start doing kirtan outside the train compartment on the railway station. And there was one devotee doing book distribution. There was another doing some food, prasad distribution. And I remember few times the train was delayed. The station master didn't allow the train to go because it was such a, kirtan going on over there. And then the station master came once and he said, Swamiji, it's been 15 minutes overtime. Can we move the train? And my father would just pull out his mic and start preaching right at the railway station. And he would get all these people, the people who carry all these bags and everything. Like, come here. Put your hands up. Say Hare Krishna. Whole preaching going on. In the 10 minutes period, when the train is stopping at the railway station, right? In the 10 minutes, he would not waste it. And it was such a hit program. Few times it happened, that the trains were 10 minutes, 15 minutes late because the station master wouldn't allow. And that's the power of Sankirtan movement. In India, there is always a kind of spiritual rivalry between the Mayavada and the Bhagavad schools. And thus, when the news of the Lord reached Prakashananda, he knew that the Lord was a Vaishnava sannyasi. And therefore, he minimized the value of the Lord before those who brought him the news. He deprecated the activities of the Lord because of his preaching the Sankirtan movement, which was, in his opinion, nothing but religious sentiment. Prakashananda was a profound student of the Vedanta, and he advised his followers to give attention to Vedanta and not to indulge in Sankirtan. You go down to South India, I think it's in Kerala, there is a temple called Guruvayur. That the deity was worshipped by Satyabhama Devi. Krishna pulled the deity out from his body. Because Rukmini Devi and Satyabhama Devi, they wanted to worship the deity, they wanted to know the childhood pastimes, they wanted to see the childhood pastimes of Krishna. So Krishna removed two deities from his body. One is Udupi Krishna, one is Guruvayur. He said, he gave one out to each of his wives, and he said, you worship him. When he's satisfied, he will give you, they will show you my childhood pastimes. So after the whole Dwarka was submerged underwater and everything, so the deity was brought by Brihaspati and the wind god to this particular place. That's why he's called Guru and Vayu. Vayu is wind god, Guru is Brihaspati. So the deity is called Guru Vayurappan, the Lord who's brought by these two demigods. So he was there in the middle of the jungle. And Narada Muni is going together with Shankaracharya they are flying in the sky, discussing Vedanta. And when they are flying over this particular place, Narada Muni says there is a deity of Krishna. You should go down there and you should establish deity worship. Shankaracharya says, I know Vedanta. Deity worship is for fools. I am a learned scholar. As soon as he said that, he fell head first. And when you go even today to Guruvayur, on the Parikrama Marg, they have made a mark. There is a square drawn on, carved in stone. And this is the place where Shankaracharya fell with his head first. When he said, I know Vedanta. Deity worship is meant for fools. When he fell, he understood. He established the whole deity worship of Guruvayur over there. And you know what's their mantra they chant? It's the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Every evening, Guruvayur temple has more than 60 elephants. It's a tradition in Kerala. You get married, or you achieved something big. As a gratitude, you would donate an elephant to Guruvayur. Guruvayur has more than 60 elephants. It's huge. So every evening, Guru Vayur sits on. There are three elephants. They will go out on a procession. So Guru Vayurappan sits on one of them, and he's taken out on parikrama. And the Brahmins over there, they're chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's the kirtan happening. So that's the deity worship established by Shankaracharya. Now Prakashananda Saraswati, he's saying, you don't do that. Focus your mind on studying of Vedanta. That's why they say the students of Shankaracharya did not understand him properly. Right? One devotee Brahmin who became a devotee of the Lord did not like the criticism of Prakashananda, and he went to the Lord to express his regret. He told the Lord that when he uttered the Lord's name before the sannyasi Prakashananda, the latter strongly criticized the Lord, although the Brahmins heard Prakashananda utterly several times the name Chaitanya. The Brahmin was astonished to see that the sannyasi Prakashananda could not vibrate the sound Krishna even once, although he uttered the name Chaitanya several times. Few Sundays ago, we were talking about when you're performing pious activity for thousands of lifetimes. Once do you get the chance or the ability to say the name Krishna, right? And he is a sannyasi, profound Vedanta scholar, and he can't say the word Krishna. He can say Chaitanya, but he can't say the name Krishna. The Lord smilingly explained to the devotee Brahmin why Mayavadi cannot utter the holy name of Krishna. The Mayavadi are offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna. Although they utter always Brahma, Atma, or Chaitanya, etc., and because they are offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna, they are actually unable to utter the holy name of Krishna. The name Krishna and the personality of Godhead Krishna are identical. There is no difference in the absolute realm between the name, form, or person of the absolute truth. Because in the absolute realm, everything is transcendental bliss. There is no difference between the body and the soul for the personality of Godhead Krishna. Thus, he is different from the living entities, who is always different from his outward body. Because of Krishna's transcendental position, it is very difficult for a layman to actually know the personality of Godhead Krishna. His holy name and fame, etc. His name, fame, form, and pastimes are all one and the same transcendental identity, and they are not knowable by the exercise of material senses.
In the earlier classes, you mentioned that the Mayavadis use certain phrases, so that their verses. So I wanted to ask you, I came up with 4 or 5 of the verses they use, not the verses, like
Phrases.
yeah. That way, as soon as they open their mouth, one big word can recognize that he's a Mayavadi.
Right.
So I know there are about 8 of them.
Right.
Okay?
One of I don't know all 8 of them, but there is, maybe Mataji might know. She's coming from a Madhva background, and Madhvacharya is known for defeating Mayavada.
So I got about 4 or 5 of them.
Which ones do you have, Mataji?
Brahmasmi, Tattvam-asmi, Namo Narayana,
Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, these are their famous ones.
So there are 8 of them. One day I was reading it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, those guys are funny people.
No, I'm saying the reason is so even our young people, when they recognize it or understand or at least hear it, then they know immediately that
Yeah.
this person is a Mayavadi, either they can go it or be strong enough.
Yes. If you read Bhagavad Gita, it's enough to defeat these people. Okay. The transcendental relationship of the pastimes of the Lord is the source of still more bliss than one can experience by realization of Brahman or by becoming one with the Supreme. Had it not been so, then those who were already situated in the transcendental bliss of Brahman would not have been attracted by the transcendental bliss of the pastimes of the Lord. Says you feel much more blissful by listening to the pastimes of Krishna more than you get attracted to becoming the, how to say, merging into him, or becoming, how to say, getting the Brahman realization. We will end at this point to keep you thinking about it till next week, and then we'll discuss this next week. Probably I will try to get some special gift for somebody who is able to give the most answers. Because then this topic ends here and then another topic starts. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. There's like 5 more pages till the end of introduction, and then we will go into more philosophy with Bhagavatam.